So long as like alchemy.
All right, here we go, y'all. NBA Alchemy Monday morning. What is it? October 8th. A lot of shit went down. A lot of what shit went down over the weekend. Couple of things. Obviously, the NBA preseason. I'm not talking about outcomes, and there's not a lot of meaningful basketball. It's more storylines. Did you see this player? Did you hear what happened with this? This dude said that, right? And so that's what's more being covered, at least until we get to the games that actually matter. You could argue if the first, month actually matters as well, but we'll get there when that happens. One subject that I heard was Kyrie Irving told the Celtics, "I plan on returning if you'll have me. I'll plan on
Stop being a bitch and come on.
if you have me." No, and y'all know I've been kind of hard on Kyrie, obviously being a rival of the Warriors, but it's not even that, man. I respect his game. I respect the handles. It's just his mentality that bothers me a little bit. And what I think it's pretty clear what Kyrie did. Kyrie's people floated the rumors that he would be interested in New York and he and Jimmy Butler teaming up, and he wants to try this and try that, right? He kind of took the temperature on that, right? He took the temperature in the room and everybody was like, Kyrie, everybody, he realized what the narrative would be if he were to leave this coming summer, right? People were like, dude, at some point it's you. We understand you wanted to get out from under LeBron's shadow, but now you're leaving arguably the best roster in the NBA, young roster in the NBA with the best young coach on a legacy franchise. And so I think he realized what that would look like, and he kind of backpedaled and was like, no, I want to be here. We good. So Kyrie, you're not slick. I see what you're doing, but that's how I took that. Now, I woke up this morning to the news of DeJounte Murray tearing his right ACL yesterday in a preseason game against the Rockets, man. And if you see it, he comes down, he plants, kind of looked like a D Rose ACL. I think he plants off two, driving to the basket, and it just goes out from under him, man. And that's devastating, man. That's devastating. Those of you, I think it was my Patreon version of it, but when I gave the rest of my award predictions, I had him as a most improved, someone who could win that because of the volume and how the Spurs have been raving about him this off season, man. So I hated to hear that. But yeah, that's going to be rough. That's going to set them back. I was high on the Spurs. I said DeMar is going to be an MVP candidate. That's going to really hurt the Spurs because they're just so limited now at guard. I thought I was counting on him taking a big leap forward and for the Spurs to hang in the loaded West. Now, I want to address this Patrick McCaw situation. A lot of y'all hit me on Twitter or whatever, like, hey, even in the YouTube comments, like, we don't hear more about McCaw. We want to hear about this. Patrick McCaw, it was a second round pick, okay? And he was missing two key attributes as to why he wasn't a first round pick and like an NBA starter, essentially, is what when you're a first round pick, you're viewed eventually as a starter in the NBA, right? Not all the time, but generally speaking, let's say lottery picks. And the first trait that he's missing is pretty obvious. It's strength. Okay. And when he was drafted, he was people touted him as the Iguodala eventual replacement. Iguodala said it himself. Okay, I can see similar skill sets, defensive minded, versatile, longer wing, right? But the separator is Iguodala is strong, and strength is something that's overlooked in the NBA because it's not always as visible as other attributes. When someone's really quick or fast, you immediately see it, right? You see length. You see hops, but strength, it's sometimes what you don't see. It's Klay Thompson is always on balance, even with the defender draped all over him. It's Draymond Green the shoulder never gets dropped on him and he gets blown by, right? And he's just there along their hip, right? Or he doesn't get knocked off balance going for a rebound. That's strength. So it's what you don't see when it comes to strength. And McCaw, his physique, you can look at his wrists and his ankles, and you can tell that he's never going to be strong, right? And that's fine. I'm not saying he's not going to be an NBA player. I'm just saying he'll never have that attribute, and that's kind of what robs him from being a lockdown defender, as well as being able to finish around the basket like he thinks he should be able to, obviously taking that nasty spill. But even before that, I had commented previously on he needs to change his approach on attacking the basket. He's not Andre Iguodala, far from prime Iguodala, right? But ultimately, he's gotten bad advice from his dad. The Warriors, now I think the bridge has been burnt. Now he's shown. It's just, I think the Warriors are kind of like the audacity of this kid. Like, we've really invested in you. Now they don't want to lose an asset for nothing, but at this point, dude, it's really kick rocks, patty mayonnaise. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I didn't even get into the second attribute because I talked about the strength. Here I am kind of, throwing shade his way like, all right, get lost. I wish him well. I just don't wish to see him back in the blue and yellow. It's just, as a Warriors fan, it's as simple as that. But the second attribute that he's missing is his confidence. Okay. And I like to call it a confidence limiter or a confidence ceiling. And what I mean by that is when Patty misses his first shot, if you pay attention, he may not shoot the rest of the game. His confidence is too fragile. And that's something that's very hard to teach. To me, that's really almost an innate trait. And I was watching this Kings Warriors game up in Seattle. You see KD brought out the Kemp, right? And all that. That was a fun game for Warrior fans. But something that struck me about Marvin Bagley was, obviously, he's off the charts physically, but he pulled up and airballed a three, and then he drove baseline and got roofed, and it didn't bother him. He kept playing hard and he kept shooting, right? And that's not something you teach. He just innately has that confidence, and that confidence is going to allow him to push through and become the star that he needs to be. Now, the counter argument to that, I'm sure what McCaws pops would tell you is, he's on a team with Steph. He's on a team with 4 Hall of Famers. He's not allowed that time to build his confidence. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You can say that. You could argue that. I just don't see it. I think it's an innate thing. And you can watch his body language and you can visibly see his confidence go away after missing just one shot, maybe two. Every player has a ceiling on it, right? And the great ones, the ceiling is way higher. Some of them, it's to the sky, like a Russ, a Kobe, even a Steph, right? They'll miss 10 in a row and it doesn't matter. It doesn't happen often, but they still don't lose confidence. Those are the greats. But let's take an average player, you need them to be able to miss 3, or an average starting NBA caliber player. They've got to be all right missing 3 or 4 shots in a row and it not affect their confidence in order for them to be a good player. And I just don't know if Pat has that mental capacity. Again, I understand the context of the roster he's on. So we'll find out. We'll keep, the best of luck to him. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know where he'll end up. I heard someone mention Minnesota because of the Jimmy Butler situation. I don't know. Tibbs, you want to talk about squeezing the life out of someone's confidence. I don't know if Tibbs is the coach to build him up, but we'll see with that, man. The other news that I read today, waking up Monday morning, was the Suns. I'm out here in Phoenix, man, and I'm finally excited about this young roster. You've got Josh Jackson, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, right? Finally fired their GM. I don't even know his name, and he's not a known GM. But it's just very interesting. You're like 8 days from the beginning of the season, and he's coming off his best draft. I think Ayton, but I really like the Bridges pickup in that trade for them. He's a 3-and-D guy. He's going to give them consistency, man. I thought that was a nice move. But the thing is he hired this European coach. And in any sport, when the guy that hired the coach gets fired, it's a sticky situation. So here are the Suns, this young team trying to finally start to build on something, and Sarver goes and does this right now. So I know they're looking for a point guard. I don't know. I've heard McHale's name being rumored as a GM. They want Steve Nash. He wants nothing to do with Sarver. He knows how he gets down, right? It's not a good look. So that's just an interesting move. Keep an eye on this coaching situation because, again, whatever this GM is, obviously he's going to deal with the young talent and give them a chance. But how much of a leash will this new coach get under a GM that didn't hire him? Now, this is a quicker one here Monday. I'll probably be back Wednesday. I'm going to have an extended Patreon Warriors breakdown of their game against the Suns tonight. My first real look at Ayton. Well, that's not true, but my first real look at him in the preseason, I'll say. I saw him in Summer League. But I do want to talk about the Conor McGregor fight, man. Again, this is an NBA channel, but I had my prediction, so I want to, this is still big news right here, right? So, and to me, Conor was out of pocket. Conor was not willing to give Khabib the respect he deserved. And the dominance that Khabib showed and how, it wasn't even close. He got ragdolled. It's not that, the separation isn't that great. Khabib is not that much better than Conor. But Conor went in there, stood in front of Khabib, and pressed the grappler who wanted to bring the fight down to the ground. And that to me let me know the arrogance and the lack of respect Conor had for Khabib. He played right into his hands. It was this is maybe not a greatest analogy, but let's say Steph and LeBron were playing one-on-one, right? It was a fight one-on-one. It would be as if Steph was like, all right, LeBron, let me see if I could back you down and hit you with some fadeaways. I mean, that was the equivalent of what Conor did. I mean, obviously he didn't want to grapple, but he basically... And so my mind was blown that he was moving forward because I said my strategy was make Khabib get impatient, dance around, use your footwork and your movement, and make Khabib chase you around the ring until he gets impatient, and then you're going to see some openings. But no, he did the exact opposite, right? And so that was very interesting, and I got to thinking like, it kind of initially it reminded me. You remember when Anderson first got knocked out, Anderson Silva by Chris Weidman? And remember how he was like pointing at his chin and he was literally letting Weidman hit him until he knocked him out. And we do this in all walks of life, whether it's a job that you no longer want, in a relationship that you no longer want to be in, where you kind of subconsciously start to self-sabotage. And you see this even at the highest levels of competition where guys, the success becomes a burden. And that's what I'm starting to question with McGregor. Look, Khabib whooped him because the fight took place where Khabib wanted it to take place, okay? But Conor allowed that to happen far too easy. And that's why I'm questioning if there was how much of this was self-sabotage. Because he could have ran from Khabib for at least a round, danced around, and made Khabib try to shoot in and have a further distance to get before the grappling began. He was closing the distance for Khabib. So it'll be interesting if there's a rematch. As far as what happened, the activities after, I'm Team Conor. I love Conor just because I love his moxie. I love his personality. But I respect what Khabib did. It's dangerous, and yeah, he's going to pay a cost for it. But yeah, if you really felt that type of way, then be about that life. You know what I'm saying?
Go get the strap.
Right? So I'm with it. I'm glad that it wasn't like the violence didn't overpour and there wasn't like someone innocent person that got hurt. But I'm with it, man. He talked that shit. Back it up. So it is what it is. Anyway, this is a quick NBA Alchemy. I'll be back with y'all in another couple days. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.